friends, I want to begin tonight with a single question. One question so penetrating, so deeply unsettling, that your answer to it will determine the entire trajectory of your life. Not next year, not someday, right now, in this moment. Who do you assume yourself to be? Not who you hope to become, not who you are striving towards, not the polished version of yourself you present to the world on your best days, but in the raw, unguarded depths of your consciousness, in the private theater of your mind, where no one else is watching. Hi, I'm Akram Ansari, international life change coach and author of the book Trained Thinking is Success. You can find it on Amazon. I came across Neville Goddard's lectures on assumption of wish fulfilled and found it congruent to the findings of the 21st century neuroscience and human psychology. This is what we teach in our neuroscientifically designed life change workshops. I ask you to subscribe to this channel to transform your life through trained thinking. Who do you assume yourself to be? Sit with this question for a moment. Let it breathe. Most people, if they were honest, would confess something uncomfortable. They assume themselves to be victim of their circumstances, prisoners of their histories, slaves to the conditions life has handed them. They believe with the quiet, stubborn conviction of a man who has stopped fighting that their fate is largely out of their hands, that the world acts upon them, that luck or the lack of it is the invisible hands steering their ship. But I tell you tonight with absolute certainty, not from arrogance, but from direct experience and profound observations, you are none of these things. You are the operant power of your world, the author of your experience, the God of your own reality, dreaming this life into existence, moment by moment, to the one faculty most people squander without ever knowing they possess it. You are the assumptive mind. The principle I'm about to share with you is deceptively simple. So simple, in fact, that the clever intellectual mind will be tempted to dismiss it before it has a chance to transform everything. I am not saying from reading about stories some 3,000 years ago. It's tested and proved by 21st century neuroscience. The intellect craves complexity. It mistrusts simplicity. It wants systems, formulas, equations. And so, when I tell you that a single shift in your inner assumptions can rewrite an entire manuscript of your life, the educated mind will raise an eyebrow. It will ask for proof. And I have covered it in my book, Trained Thinking is Success. You will find it on Amazon. It will demand logic, but logic is the language of past. And what I am offering you tonight is the architecture of the future. This principle, when properly understood and faithfully applied, does not merely improve your circumstances, it recreates them. It does not add to your life, it transforms it. The results will appear to those who do not understand the law, nothing short of miraculous. Let me begin with a story told by world famous life transformation guru, Mr. Neville Goddard. A young man came to him in a state of absolute despair. His relationship had ended. He was staring down the barrel of an eviction notice, counting days he didn't have. When he sat before him, his posture said everything. Shoulders collapsed inward, eyes dull. Let me tell you that I have counseled, trained and transformed thousands of people. My participants who thought they were unlucky, I can make out the root cause of all their troubles and problems by merely listening to them. They were not unlucky. The mere assumption of being unlucky was the root cause of problems they were encountering. Their assumptions of being unlucky was the precise source of every trouble in their life. Assumption is everything. Assumption is the foundation of all creations. You see, assumption is not wishful thinking. It's not the cheerful repetition of an affirmation while secretly believing none of them works. It's not the hollow theater of positive thinking where you smile in the morning and collapse into fear by noon. Assumption is the acceptance of something as true regardless of all evidence to the contrary. It is the settled bedrock certainty that what you desire already exists, not as a distant possibility, not as a hoped far future, but as a present reality in the invisible realm of consciousness, fully formed, fully alive, waiting only to be made manifest in this physical world you call your life. Every state of consciousness carries its own feeling tone, its own inner wealth, its own inner weather, its own vibrational signature. When you truly assume the state of being wealthy, not perform it, not pretend it, but assume it. At the deepest level, you naturally feel abundant, you feel secure, you feel generous. The anxiety of scarcity simply does not arise because it has no home in the consciousness of a person who knows themselves to be prosperous. When you assume the state of being loved, you feel cherished, appreciated, seen, not needy, not desperate, not auditioning for affection, genuinely, quietly valued. Because this is how loved people feel. When you assume the stable of being wealthy, you feel vital, energetic, whole about your health, certain of it. In the same matter of fact way, a man in peak condition does not think about where his leg will carry him. They simply do. The secret, and here I must ask you to lean forward because this is the hinge on which everything turns. The secret is that you must feel the reality of your assumptions before you see the evidence of it. We use the self-hypnosis through meditation to achieve that state in our workshops. We teach our participants how to step into this state neuroscientifically and on demand. This reverses everything the world has taught you. The world says, see it first and then believe. I am telling you, believe it first, assume it first, and then you will see it. I ask this question to everyone whom I teach life transformation strategy. What kind of a person do you want to be? Without hesitation, successful, prosperous, then that is what you must assume yourself to be. I tell them, not tomorrow, not when your circumstances improve. Now, right now, regardless of what your bank account shows, regardless of what your apartment walls reflect, it makes every participant to begin each morning upon waking in that luminous threshold between sleep and full consciousness. They close their eyes and feel themselves to be the successful, confident, prosperous man or woman they desire to be. Each evening, before sleep, they retire to the same fulfilled inner state. Some imagine walking into their own office, signing important contracts, depositing substantial checks at the bank. But mind it, your mind will find it nonsensical in the start. It will whisper, you did everything that was hard, and what does this quiet assumption can do? Nothing. This is old untrained mind who does not want you to give away the power of decision. What every problem and setback you are encountering are the fruits of the unwanted thoughts or seeds that you had sown in the past. In the past, normally, your present thoughts will be powerful seeds of assumption that will give fruits as you go along. This quiet authority of a man or woman who moves through the world knowing that he belongs in rooms of consciousness. But above all, and this is what makes the difference, is the cultivated naturalness of being the person, not the excitement, not the desperate hope. Calm, settled naturalness. Settled naturalness. Within days, you will see people reaching out to you with business opportunities. I am telling this from testimonies of my clients and workshop participants. Is this luck, a coincidence, or a fortunate series of unrelated events? Absolutely not. This is the law of assumption. Assumption in flawless operation, as reliable as gravity, as impersonal as mathematics, and every bit as real. But let me be precise about what is required to get it right. But people negate it like something ineffective and superficial. But your mind needs to gather support. And with repetition, it starts to become one. The voice of majority, when I speak of feeling in the start, or manufactured excitement, or performed enthusiasm, yourself in the bathroom mirror. This practice will complete acceptance of yourself, the writer, the producer, the actor of your incredible life movie. When I ask my participants to do the mirror work, they find it awkward to see themselves in the mirror, in the eyes, and say, I truly love and accept you. Do not fall out from the repetition of practice, because emotion is a wave. It rises and falls. So do it irrespective. This will shape your inner self far more deeper and far more powerfully. You need to embody the conviction, the quiet, unshakable inner knowing that comes from genuinely accepting something that is already accomplished. Think of your name. How do you feel about it? You don't get excited that it's yours. You don't cross your fingers hoping it will remain yours. You don't spend 10 minutes of visualizing yourself owning it. You simply, naturally, completely assume to be yours. It requires no effort, no affirmation, no faith in the conventional sense. It is simply known. That kind of belief you should harbor in your heart when you do the mirror work or any other meditative practices. That is the quality of feeling you must cultivate about your desired state. Excitement, hope, optimism are the starting points. But you need to dwell in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. I know how difficult it is for my new audience to think, how is this possible? How can by a private assumption affect another person? How can what I think in my bedroom change what someone does across the city? Let me give you an answer that will, if you truly receive it, revolutionize your entire understanding of the nature of reality. This is only one consciousness, and you are it. What you call other people are not separate beings existing independently of your awareness. They are projections, aspect of the one infinite consciousness being reflected back to you through the prism of your own assumptions. This is not a metaphor. This is literal structure of reality. As I understand, when you assume people love and respect you, you will find it without engineering or manipulation. People begin treating you with love and respect when you assume that opportunities are always opening before you, where before there seemed to be only closed doors. When you assume that you are healthy and vital, your body, that faithful mirror of your inner world will begin reflecting that inner assumption back to you. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is law. It operates with the same impersonal, unwavering precision as the law of gravity. You do not need to believe in gravity for it to keep your feet on the ground. And you do not need to fully understand the law of assumption for it to be right now, in this moment. You just need to believe without taking in any external visual inputs. This is explained beautifully in 21st century neuroscience. It shapes every aspect of your existence. The only question is, are you using it deliberately or by default? One of my clients asked, how can I double my income? Not an unusual question, which I have heard thousands of times. But when I asked him the question, I always ask, his answer was more honest than most. I said, what would you do if your income were already doubled? He thought for a long moment. Then he said, I would buy a new car, move to a better neighborhood, and take my family on the kind of holiday we have always talked about but never taken. Then assume you have already done these things. I told him, feel yourself behind the wheel of that car. Feel yourself walking through your new home at night, turning off of the lights before you go to bed. Feel yourself at the airport with your family, watching your children's eyes go wide. He committed to it fully. Every morning, he would spend a few minutes in the visual inner theater of these scenes. He would visualize signing larger contracts, making more substantial deposits, living at the level his new assumption demanded. But the golden thread running through all of it and made everything possible was the feeling of being the man for whom these things were simply normal, not exciting, normal. Within months, his income has not doubled but tripled. His new clients appeared, investment opportunities materialized from directions he had never anticipated. This is proved exactly by the 21st century neuroscience. I was reading a science journal and I read about how our imagination has helped us for billions of years. A small boy hearing his elders describing the story of their fabulous hunt, sitting by the campfire. The imagination and visualization in the mind of the child is vivid and graphical. He has gone on these mental rehearsals so many times that the day he hunts his first animal, it feels familiar and normal. The same way we become of what we think. There is one thing you need to be aware of, a single thing that erodes the effectiveness of assumption. For most of the people, consistency in assumption. You cannot assume of being wealthy on Monday and poverty on Tuesday. You cannot health in the morning and rehearse symptoms in the afternoon. You cannot feel loved when your mood is good and assume rejection when you feel low. Your assumption must be constant. It must be unwavering, not rigid or straining, but steady. Be in the expectation mode, but with the calm assurance of just not having access to the wealth that is in your bank account due to some minor reason. Be steady like the river, always moving in the same direction. Same way, align your thoughts, words, actions and feelings in the direction of the wish fulfilled, regardless of external conditions. The wealthy version of you is not a future achievement. It exists now in the realm of pure possibility. When you assume the feeling of that wealthy person, not desperately, not with effort, but with calm certainty of one who is simply realizing a truth, you literally inhabit that version of yourself. You step into it, and from within it, you begin to see the world differently. You act differently. You attract differently. Let me give you a practical technique, a precise step by step method you can begin using tonight. Step 1. Know that what you want with specificity. Not, I want to be successful. Success means nothing without a face. Say instead, I want to be a best selling author. I want to run a thriving business that employs 20 people. I want to live in perfect, radiant health. Name it, make it real. Step 2. Construct a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. That implies your desire is already fulfilled. Note the word implies, not a scene of receiving your desire, but a scene that could only be happening if your desire were already real. A friend congratulating you. You reviewing your bank statement with quite satisfaction. A doctor telling you your results are remarkable. Step 3. Enter that scene in imagination, not an observer watching a film, but as a participant. See what you would see, hear, smell the air of that moment. If you can, make it vivid, make it present. Step 4. Capture the feeling. This is the whole game. How would you feel it? This scene were genuinely happening right now. Find that feeling. It might be satisfaction, relief, deep quiet joy, gratitude, whatever it is, find it and hold it. Step 5. Carry your day whenever thoughts about your desire arise. Don't strategize, don't scheme. Return to the feeling. Live from within it. Step 6. Persist until it's natural. Keep assuming your desired state. Not seriously, not desperately, but consistently until it stops feeling like an assumption and start feeling like simply who you are. Let me share a personal example. Years ago, I wanted to speak to larger audience about these neuroscientific success principles. At the time, I used to speak with modest gatherings, 20 to 30 people in small rooms, leaning forward on folding chairs. I was grateful for them, but I knew with a certainty I could not entirely explain that. These ideas were meant to reach thousands, and so I assumed it, not wished for it, not prayed for it in the conventional sense. Assumed it. I would close my eyes and feel standing before a vast audience. I would feel the particular electricity of a hall filled with hundreds of people who had chosen to come here to hear something that might change their lives. I would hear that response at the end. I would feel in my chest the deep satisfaction of a man who has found his right and proper work and is doing at that fullest possible scale. Most importantly, I would inhabit the feeling of being someone for whom this was simply noble. Not a miracle, not an achievement, just a Monday. Just Monday. I persisted in this assumption for months. Then seemingly from nowhere, though there is nowhere in this law, only timing we cannot see, I started getting invitations, counseling calls, to the extent that I had to start a weekend life change webinar to accommodate large audiences. This busy schedule, my assumption did things I wanted to do almost effortless. This was the new normal for me, and I published my first book on Amazon, Trained Thinking is Success. The world, a faithful mirror, as it always is, began to reflect back the assumptions I had been quietly, consistently holding. I began speaking to audiences of hundreds, then thousands, and here is what I want you to notice. It did not feel like a miracle. It did not feel like a lucky break. It felt natural because I was already living inside that reality and consciousness for months before it appeared in form. But what about doubt? Because doubt will come. I promise you that. It comes from everyone. It comes for everyone. In the middle of the night, when the room is dark and the world is quiet, and the old familiar voice rises up like a tide. Who do you think you are? This is fantasy. This is deception or ignoring reality. You are building castles on air. What do you do with that? Here is what I want you to understand about doubt, and it will change your relationship to it permanently. Doubt is just another assumption. That's all it is. It is not reality, it is not insight, it is not the wise voice of reason protecting you from foolish decisions. It is simply an assumption. The assumption of impossibility wearing the costume of wisdom. And if you can assume limitation, you can assume possibility. If you can assume failure, you can assume success. If you can assume you are unworthy, you can assume you are worthy. These are all assumptions. Not one of them is more real than another. The only question that matters is which assumption serves you. Here is something that will fascinate you if you begin paying attention. Here's something that will fascinate you if you begin paying attention to it. Comment 888. Comment 888, which is a number associated with abundance. When you change your assumptions about yourself, you do not merely change yourself, you change your world, everyone in it, everything in it. It is like dropping a stone in still water. The ripples do not stop at the point of impact. They spread, they travel, they reach the farthest edges of the pond. People will begin treating you differently without being able to say why. I experience it every day in my interactions with people I have never met. People, opportunity, circumstances, and synchronicities will surface in places that were before simply blank walls. You will just exist and circumstances will rearrange them, not with your manipulation or strategy, but through the deep intelligence of the universe that is always without exception, reflecting back the dominant assumptions of the consciousness. This is not manipulation, this is law. When you change your inner world, your outer world must change to match it. It has no choice. It is the nature of the relationship between consciousness and the world it inhabits. How long does it take? This is the question that comes next, always. And I will give you the honest answer, even if it is not the neat one. It takes as long as it takes for your assumptions to feel natural to you. Some assumptions take hold quickly within days. The inner communication settles, and shortly after, the outer circumstances begin to shift. Others require more time, more repetition, more patience, and persistence. Inhabiting of the desired state before feeling of naturalness fully arrives. The key is not speed, the key is persistence, and the danger is a rigid deadline. You need to have a deadline, but think like nature. You sow a seed, it will come only on the divine timing. You cannot force it to haste growth. So be patient but persistence. And if the deadline comes, give it another assumed deadline forward. Do not demand your assumptions to manifest at a specific date. Because if you don't get the assumed results, you may conclude the law doesn't work. But that's the trap your old minds will play to pull you back in doubt and despair. Don't fall for your old mind. This always work. Don't fall for your old mind's thinking patterns. Your assumptions is always manifesting. The question is whether you have held it long enough to make the feeling natural. Have you steadily dwelled in your assumptions enough for the world to catch up to the inner change you have made? Do not see the clock or calendar. Simply persist in the feeling of already being who you wish to be. And trust and delegate the timing to the intelligence that runs this universe with the greatest precision that would make the greatest clockmaker weep with admiration. The secret, the deepest, the most practical secret of all, this is learning to live from the end. This phrase sounds simple. In fact, the entire teaching compressed into 4 words. You are what you want to be right now. The world will catch up to you if you learn the law of living from the end. You are the operant power of your world, author of your experience, conscious creator, center of the universe that is always faithfully, lovingly giving you exactly what you assume to be true. The person you want to be is not someone you will become. It is who you already are. Assume it, feel it, live it, be it, and watch with the calm, unsurprised eyes of the one who understands the law as your entire world transforms itself to reflect the magnificent truth you have chosen to assume. The power has always been with you. It has never been anywhere. It has never been anywhere else. The time is now. It has only ever been now. Your new life is not waiting for you someday. It is waiting for you to assume it. Go ahead and inhabit it fully. The life you were born to live has been expecting you. Remember, assumption is not the beginning of the journey. It is the journey itself. It is the journey itself. What you assume to be true about yourself with depth and persistence will become your reality, not eventually, but inevitably. Choose your assumptions as you would choose the direction of your life. For they are in every sense that matters. Exactly that. This is Akram Ansari. I will see you again in the next.